Ashraf is an international corporate trainer and the founder of Life Academy, a reputed life skills training organization based in Chennai, India. He is a specialist in facilitating game-based experiential learning programs, including outbound training. In a career spanning 2 decades, he has designed and facilitated over 1,000 training programs for many corporate organizations in India and abroad. He also conducts certification workshops for trainers and educators on game-oriented active learning, a flagship product of Life Academy. He is a member of the International Association of Facilitators and the Association of Experiential Education. He's been interviewed in the past by leading newspapers, including The Hindu, Times of India, and Deccan Chronicle, and many regional television channels across India. So it gives me immense pleasure to be talking to Ashraf in the episode 4 of Ground Zero Everyday Leaders. So join me talking to this man, a man who teaches people to walk on fire. So good evening, friends, and welcome to yet another episode of Ground Zero Everyday Leaders. We are in episode 4, and I'm really I'm kind of surprised as to how time really takes off when you start a project or kickstart a dream project. And this, for me, is certainly turning out to be an exciting event. More so because I'm getting a lot of good review about the way we are hosting the guests, and more importantly, the people who have been invited so far have given so much back to the learnings of people who are listening in. Especially the young audience have been very vocal about what they have picked up from these programs. So without much ado, there's excitement even tonight as we have a very, very prominent guest joining us in episode 4. His name is Ashraf Ali. I met Ashraf around 4 years ago during one of the sales training programs in Abu Dhabi during my corporate life. And that was, when Ashraf really walked into the room, we just saw this humble person walking into the room. But by the end of the day, that room was a ball of energy. And I can tell you, this gentleman really brings in that ball of energy and excitement into any person who attends his programs. And so with that short introduction, I would like to introduce you and bring you, Ashraf, to the show. Ashraf, welcome. And man, it's amazing to be having you in today's show, Ashraf. Ground Zero Everyday Leaders. You have made many leaders around not only India, around the world. And I do not hesitate to say that I'm one of your students. So welcome, Ashraf. Welcome.
Thanks, Alan. Thanks for inviting me to this wonderful talk show. It gives me a wonderful opportunity to share my thoughts on ideas on learning and development.
Yeah, no, that is exactly what we are looking forward to tonight, and I'm really excited about this conversation, Ashraf, because up until that point when we met, 2017, training and coaching was an industry which was far-sighted for me. But ever since I met you that time, the inspiration to become one was just so natural. And so I thank you from the bottom of my heart for bringing in that inspiration, not only to me, to so many other people around the world. So that must be a journey by itself for you, isn't it?
Sure, yes. It's a privilege. And first, let me congratulate on the phenomenal work you're doing to inspire the young minds and develop the leadership skills through your leadership studio. So great work you're doing. Keep it up.
Thanks, Ashraf. Well, let's get straight into it, right? It's a conversation we are having, so people want to listen to Ashraf Ali today, and it gives me a pleasure to be asking you a few questions, which hopefully drives a lot of energy into this particular session. Ashraf,
Yeah.
you were a government employee just after your engineering graduation. That must have been a super comfortable job for anyone to have claimed as a lifelong job.
Yeah.
But you decided otherwise. You had some other passion to pursue. What was it all about, Ashraf?
See, government job gives you security but not growth. So if you really want to grow and follow your passion, that is not the place to be. So I realized within a couple of years, but I stayed there for almost 7 years because the logical mindset, yes, there is security, and particularly my family members, my mother and my uncle, were adamant that I stay in the government job and do whatever I want, as a side job, as a in my part time. But I started doing these trainings. But at one point, I found that okay, I need to go full throttle, full on into this training, because anything you do half-hearted, you don't succeed. So I took a decision. It took me about 7 years, but finally I made the jump, the transition into full-time into training. And the last, I would say, 13 years has been phenomenal for me. I made the right decision. And today, those same people, my mother and my uncle said, saying that, yeah, that's the right decision to go for the training.
Yes, it's always a kind of a nervous moment of anxiety, and I think I've seen a lot of stories when it comes to trainers and coaches that they have to make that one difficult choice, or rather one difficult decision in their lives. But I completely agree with you. But that once you make that decision, I think it's a life changing.
And you know why this is a very difficult profession? Because there is no safe, secure income at the end of the month. So this is like purely like you don't know what are the projects you're going to get, and the monthly income is a variable. So in a government job or in any other job, you can know you have a commitments. You know at the end of the month how much you're going to get. But here it is a surprise. Okay, so that uncertainty is a part of the game. Like any other profession, we need to learn first before you earn. So if you go into any profession, whether engineering, you spend about 4 or 5 years, training yourself, learning, and then even after passing out with a degree, still you have the first 2-3 years of experience. So at least it takes 5 to 6 years to establish yourself to get started in a profession. The same thing what happens in training. People just come in and within 6 months or 1 year they want to hit the next level. So what I say is give them at least 2 years and with a lot of sincerity and dedication. See, I would say passion is the number one criteria for this training. If you really have the passion, otherwise you're just looking for just another stream of income. Doesn't work. Because the first primary criteria is passion. Because when you have the passion and the dedication, it will sustain. I would say, there is a theory I read in a book called takeoff theory. Like when the flight takes off, in the initial thrust, a lot of fuel is burned because it has to defy the gravity and move. So once it takes off, the flight cruises along and it takes lesser fuel to travel. The initial that momentum, that thrust is required. So I would say, that initial 1 or 2 years for you to establish, to get started, you need to allow that time for learning and, have the patience to hold on to that.
Uncertainty is a part of life. And I think you have attached that name to your academy, Life Academy. How did that name evolve?
I had this in 1997 itself. I started in 2002. 5 years back itself, I had this clear idea. I'm going to start this academy. This is a name because of this basically skills for life. So Life Academy is all about learning skills for a great life. Because I believe that schools and colleges teach you skills which are for livelihood. You can earn your income. Sure. But to live a great life, you need a different kind of skill sets. And you are born with the skill sets. We need to sharpen and hone that skills.
Yes, and everybody drive, sorry to interrupt, but everybody drive their passion in their own direction once they take up, the L&D space. And, people focus on the corporate, many go into the student entity as well. And I think that's the question that, keeps coming to me as to, in India, there is a lack of soft skill, the importance of soft skills. And I think that must be a drive which needs to go into a child very early in their life. Your thoughts on that, Ashraf?
See, I believe America is a superpower because of the human development revolution was started in the 60s. There were a lot of leaders, who talked about human potential and the need for self-education. See, because we feel the education is only limited to academics, school and college. But with the environment constantly changing, you need to self-educate yourself. And human development is all about that. And we're all natural learners. So I believe, India is catching up. In the last 20 years, I've seen, there's a lot more awareness about the importance of soft skills. But we have a long way to go. And I think the next 10, 15 years, that explosion will take place.
Right. So the explosion is definitely, I think we've seen that, me myself getting into the space of the training and coaching industry, especially focusing on students. I can see the enthusiasm coming in very, very early into them. I mean, I take sessions for kids as young as 8-year-old, and they really have a passion for learning. Yes. And it's an amazing thing. Where do you, I mean, you did mention that you see this industry growing and growing, but where do you see India progress in the field of L&D, in the space of training and coaching? Because I know I hear stories that even the CEO of a company, yeah, or the managing director of a company needs a coach, isn't it?
Very true, very true. See, the only variable is the human capital. So we have all other assets, which are very more or less fixed, but the human potential is the variable. So we need a coach, like in sports, a player has a potential, but the coach spots on those small things which can help him to improve the game. So everybody needs a coach. He acts as a mirror for you to understand more about yourself, how to improve your game. So of course, everybody needs a coach.
Well, you mentioned sports, and the first thing that comes into mind when you talk about sports and you relate it to Ashraf Ali is your brand program or workshop, if I may call, G.O.A.L. Well, Ashraf, please spend some time talking about G.O.A.L, because I think that's exactly the workshop that changed my life and convinced me. Finally, the thoughts had started in 2017, but it was that workshop when a couple of years ago when I attended G.O.A.L, that was the life-changing experience for me. And I decided then that my goal in life is to be a trainer and a coach.
Yeah. So the G.O.A.L came in full form in 2016, but the genesis were in the beginning of my life itself. So let me take you in the memory lane in my childhood. Because in my childhood, I used to play a lot of games on the streets, in the neighborhood, with the neighborhood friends. And there are many traditional Indian games, which are today, unfortunately, not many kids are playing that. Games like Seven Stones.
Yeah.
And then games like Gilli Danda. Then you had the game Spinning Tops. That was one of the favorite games. And there was a lot of competitions, street competitions, who's going to win. So these are games in my childhood. I could remember every day after school hours or on the weekends, I was on the street playing with the neighborhood kids. And in the neighborhood, we have kids from different strata of the society. And that was a social connect, There was no differences. So you were able to connect with kids from different backgrounds. And they were very intense games with a lot of competitive spirit. At the same time, it helped us to learn. Because every time we lost something, we thought we should win it the next time. And another thing is another two games which I played regularly was hide and seek and flying kites. So in my school breaks, all the school breaks in the lunch hours, hide and seek was one of the games. And today psychologists say, what are the advantages of playing hide and seek? Because we always seek and discover. So the spirit of discovery is there. So every game has its own unique speciality. I would say each game is a curriculum by itself. You can learn a lot by each game. So each game has different elements, different dynamics. So indoor games, outdoor games, in fact, my learning unconsciously happened through these games. I was a good student, of course, in the academics. And one of the things I remember constantly my parents saying, learn while you learn, play while you play. So there was a clear distinction between play and learning. So learning was a serious, mandatory affair. Whether you like it or not, you have to do it. There's a lot of pressure on that. Whereas games were, of course, fun and was a choice, optional. It's an extracurricular activity. So whatever games you want to play, it is up to your choice. So that was a clear thing for me. Today, the goal is all about combining learning and playing. So we're bringing the fun and the engagement of the games and learning the life skills that will help you to go to the next level.
So that actually leads me to that. It's all about experiential learning, isn't it? I mean, that's predominantly what you're trying to convey through the GOAL program.
Cool.
And there must have been a lot of transformation in lives once people have attended. You probably an experience that you could share with us.
Okay, I'll just recount one of the recent experiences that happened in the lockdown, and that was a great learning experience for me itself. See, one of the game which my father taught me was chess. I really loved this game because it was a strategic game. It was an intellectual game. I learned a lot, and I used to play chess a lot during my childhood. But somehow, as we grew up, I didn't find the time to do it. So during this lockdown, I wanted to play chess, and I taught my younger son how to play chess. So initially, he learned, and of course, whenever I play the game, I win. But every time he keeps improving the game. And what he also does is goes to the computer and also learns the strategies. So he learns so fast. So now, I'm the last last 1 month I'm playing. I hardly won only one game out of, I say, 25, 30 games which he played. So he has learned a lot. He's just 13 years old. So what happened is the amount of learning. So that's an inspiration for me because he just learned and the kind of moves what he's doing. It's something new for me. I haven't experienced it earlier. He's very proactive, very aggressive, and for a 13-year-old, and technology helps as well because in the computer or in the online thing, he's able to do a lot of removes and learn. So I see, this is a practical example I can see at home where some kid is 13 years old. He's able to learn and master the game within a short span of time. And what happens is his thinking, his ability to interpret. See, again, it's all about strategies.
Yeah.
It's all about strategies. So game is all about strategy and it helps you to think differently. And what happens is what happens in a game doesn't stay there. It comes back to us in real life. All these skills, what we practice in games, whether it is decision making, whether it is planning, whatever you do, it helps sharpen your skill sets and helps you to translate those skill sets into real life.
So in other words, Ashraf, you also are a NLP coach, a neuro-linguistic programming coach, and probably you definitely apply that into the science of education as well when it comes to training and coaching. Yeah. And you bring that sort of approach into your training sessions. So how do you apply NLP in some of your programs?
So NLP is all about life, the structure of life. How you it has 3 levels. One is your thinking. Neuro is all about thinking, how you process information. So a lot of things are happening around you every day, and you experience that information through your 5 senses, and that is the input. And what you do with that information, you process that. So that is the thinking part. And then comes the communication part. So whatever information, whatever the inputs you have taken, you communicate that first to yourself and then to the people around you. So that communication is the second level. And finally is the behavior, which is the programming part. So it is an interplay of thinking, communication, and behavior. So NLP tries to decode. For example, somebody is able to, let's say a sports person is able to improve his game and rise to the champion level. How is he able to do that? Because he's transforming his thinking, his communication within himself and others, and finally his behavior. So what happens is many times we see the behavior, which is the outer part, but the internal thinking patterns, we're not able to understand what goes into the game. They say 80% is psychology, only 20% is mechanics. So we focus on the 20% mechanics, but the 80% the underground psychology which works. So NLP tries to decode those patterns and helps you to learn that.
Well, it only actually probably hints that most of these famous sportsmen have all attended an NLP session somewhere or the other in life. This pandemic must have really changed a lot of lives for sure. True. And certainly what I've understood and what I've experienced, and also being a trainer and coach myself, I've realized that not really, it's not the end of everything, right? I mean, this is probably the best moment when someone can give something back to others. And people are able to also deliberate and give their time towards learning. Ashraf, do you see anything changing after the pandemic is all over?
Yes, a lot of changes are going to come. I always believe we need to expand our comfort zone. See, what happens if we get conditioned to way of life and we think, that's the way to go. But anytime something upsets the apple cart, we get threatened. For example, this online education. See, what happened is prior to the pandemic, we had about 5% of the online education, 90% predominantly on the classroom. So scientists said that another 15, 20 years later, the scenario will be mostly online rather than the face-to-face. So what the pandemic has done is accelerated this change. So whatever change is going to come about 5 to 10 years later has come faster. So we are not ready for that. So that's, I would say, for example, for me also, having done all the trainings classroom. So when I see the audience that connect, that inspires me to share. But when I started doing online training where I can't see the participants or I have to just see the screen, laptop screen, it was a little odd and strange. But I said, you need to come out of the comfort zone, you need to expand the comfort zone and learn new skills and techniques for you to grow in the new normal, I would say. And of course, each challenge, or I would not say the problem, brings its own opportunities. For me, the book which I mentioned, I was planning for 3 years, and I finally got started in the last year. But a lot of things were pending. So I used the lockdown time. I had a lot of free time. I had to complete the book. So I would say, in a way, it was a blessing in disguise for me, because I had something to do. I was able to complete that. So if you have a purpose and a clear intention what you want to do, I would say, anything that happens, we can serve you. Instead of
Congratulations on that book, Ashraf. I mean, I've been waiting, and I'm sure many of your colleagues and friends are waiting to have your book published. So congratulations and all the best. Tell us something about the book itself. I mean, I know you don't want to reveal too much. It's like it's like any movie, but every movie has a trailer.
Yeah.
So please tell us something about the book that we're about to expect or anticipate.
Yeah, the book has 3 parts to it. The first part is psychology of games and play. So what is playing and what is games? So looking at different aspects, the psychological aspects. For example, let me quote, there's a famous book called Inner Game of Tennis. So this was written by a former tennis champion. He says the game has 2 components. One is what you play externally in the game. One is what you play in your mind, how you train yourself. So each game has 2 components. The first part is the psychology of playing games. So what happens? What drives you? What are the things that drive you to play a game? And what is the result you get from that? What is the experience you get? So the first part is all about the psychology of games. The second part is all about what can we learn from different games. So there are different kind of games which require different skill sets. So so focusing on those sections, different games, and what can we learn. And finally, it's all about how to turn our life into a game. Whatever activities you're doing, whatever task you're doing, how to inject the fun and make it as a game. Because what happens is when there's a thin line difference between play and work. When you enjoy what you're doing, it becomes play. Whenever you just have to do out of pressure or necessity, it's just a work, it's a burden. But when you do something out of passion or fun, it becomes a play. So the last part I've given, what are things you can do to turn your task and activities into a game. These are the 3 parts.
What's the book titled, Ashraf?
The title of the book is G.O.A.L, which is Game-Oriented Active Learning.
Lovely, and all the best once again. Look forward to that edition. Would that be your first book?
Yeah, this is my first book.
Fantastic. Congratulations once again. So Ashraf, at least I don't have to ask that one question, which normally I ask my guests, which is your favorite book? I'm sure that would be your favorite book forever going forward. But yet, I would like to ask you one common question, which I generally ask during such sessions. Being a trainer and coach yourself, do you get inspired by any of the trainers and coaches around you, or any of the person that has really inspired you to go into this industry?
Yeah. There's one person which has made a tremendous impact on my life. It was way back in 1995. So I was in a very critical juncture of my life. I was physically down with an illness, and also I lost my father at that point of time. So I was physically and psychologically down. So that book, which I shifted my life, is called Unlimited Power by Anthony Robbins. So that book got introduced me to NLP, which I'm using right now. And I would suggest if somebody asks me, give me only one book which I can read and get started in training, I say, go and read Unlimited Power by Anthony Robbins. And there's one more book by the same author. It's called Awaken the Giant Within. I would say these are two gems you have. It was almost 25 years now, but still that book was the impetus for me to get started into training. So at a critical juncture where I was able to overcome, my physical and psychological challenges.
Amazing, amazing. Well, Ashraf, it was lovely talking to you. I mean, from a person who is as humble as you, who gets the room, as I said earlier in the program, into a ball of energy. Now I'm sure even the virtual rooms get into that particular sort of a mode. To a person who has worked tremendously to keep the L&D and the training and coaching industry going in India, you are one of the recognized persons that we know. And also, last but not the least, you have been partnering with many people, and including me. I've had the honor and the privilege in working together with you to again work in Goa, and I'm looking forward to many such occasions going forward as well. So Ashraf, keep giving to the industry, keep giving to the society, keep giving to the world, because the world needs so much of people like you. And so God bless you and your family. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I hope you enjoyed talking to me. As always, look forward to seeing you in person as well.
Thanks, Ellen. Thanks for the opportunity to share that. Thanks for that.